Well, it finally happened. Cruising down the road the other day, and some guy ran a stop sign and slammed right into us. Luckily, I was able to avoid a direct T-bone accident and turn it more into a Y accident, so we didn't get hit too hard, and boy was it scary. Luckily, everybody's alright, but we just managed to get hit by him. An awful crunchy sound. Blew the tire. Hopefully the rim is alright. We're not entirely sure, but the tie rod under here, we just did tie rods and stuff, and this one is bent pretty bad. Steering wheel's upside down, so I gotta replace that now. And we have to get lots of other body work to do. So, new grille, new headlight, new fender, bumper cover, bumper, bottom valance there. It's fog lights, gotta straighten everything, and the mirror. That's that. The rest of the truck, pretty much, well, she's been waiting to get fixed up a little bit. So I have a little rust spot here. We did these panels back, I don't know, a year or so ago, and I have some new cancer forming down under here. As you can see, my hand is going into this bottom rocker channel, so I already have a patch up here on this one. Let me maybe open this door, maybe you can see it a little better. I call this truck patches, and basically it's a series of patches replacing. Well, this was a rotten spot before, and God, you can't even tell, it came out pretty good other than the stitch line there, which I like. So, well, we'll do the same thing down here. The spot's starting to come through. You know, it's gonna need some work. I have a hole down here now that I have to address, so we'll take and cut that out of there. The bumper, poor thing, it's being held together by chrome. There's no, I mean, it's kind of neat. It's the chrome. That's all that's left to it. So we'll get a new bumper, fix all these dents and dings that are in the tailgate, scratches. Same, this side's not too bad. Maybe just clean that up down there. We do need a new muffler on this sucker. It's been pretty good to us, except the welds all blew apart on the front of this here. And this is, I don't know, I'll probably get another one of these. I don't know why the heck that broke right there. Odd. Anyway, back to the truck. A little bit of body work down here on the bottom of this door to do. God, I feel like these are the only two doors that have never been touched on this whole truck. Everything else has been touched and fixed and modified. This front fender, a tree branch hit this side or so. I don't know, all kind of weird stuff happens to this thing. So it needs a good paint job. Well, it's getting to that age. This thing, it's a work truck and does everything. We do everything with this truck. It's made everything we have, and God, poor girl. Patches, it's her nickname. Anyway, we'll fix her up, and well, I wanted to show you what we're up against in our next project. Check out one of our videos. I'll put a link for the interior restoration. This originally had cloth seats. We bought the leather interior out of one, and what a difference that made. But let me get to work. I gotta start doing some stuff here. I have a variety of grinding wheels. I'm gonna hit this area and see what this looks like and where my real metal is and cut out a patch. Now what I use for patching, I have, well, the perfect thing. The fender. I was able to use one before with this angle and this cut to make a patch that fit right over here for the rust. I did that on the other side. That front fender worked on the other side of the truck. Pretty cool. But then you have metal that's original to the truck, and you know it's the right consistency and densities and qualities, so, well, it'll rust evenly and weld evenly and be the right material for it. Luckily I have that. Otherwise, try to match up your steel as best you can, and let's get to work. The grinder to this, we have a hole here and our giant cavity here. So if we measure from about this point where I have good solid metal, back here is about 18 inches by about 5 inches across. Then we come over to this piece, which is a magical old fender that I had laying around. Had some rust and stuff down here when it got changed, so I saved it. Now I marked out 5 inches up, 18 over, Boom, that gives us this piece. And I use this bottom rib, which already has the bend, for this bottom rib here. And then we'll work our way up. I'll show you how to do that. Also needed a panel back here. I believe it's 8 inches long and 7 inches high with the little rib. Doing the same thing, we'll keep this bottom rib to 7 inches, or 8 inches in length and 7 inches high to this line. We'll cut that out. So I figured I'd use this side, even though it's a weird piece, I'll bend it and fix it to that. And I will save this old curve here. And you can see I've used the previous piece from here, probably somewhere on this fender for either making this piece or back in here, because this has the curve, and you just cut and replace it with, you know, what's left of this. And this is the proper thickness and quality of steel. Nice little trick to have this, and it matches the truck. So even if I don't paint it right away, if I stitch it, it can come out looking like this, and it'll hold up for quite a while before it starts to rust. That was done a few years ago, and it's getting... See, the road salts around here are horrific, and they eat cars, so you're constantly patching things. So there's the panel piece cut out. Here's the one. And this will fit right like that. Something like that. I'll cut that bottom edge off later, but then I can start and wrap it around and get it to what I need. That's that one. We're going to work a better seam in here. And this is the back one here. Again, I'll cut it right along this edge. That gives me something to hold it and set it, and that'll fit right into that. All right, what are we looking at here? See how I have that set into that little groove? And then I can cut this right across that when it's done, and it'll lock this right where I need it. And it'll come around and mark it. And look at that. You know, same color, you'll never even know. This stuff very easy to work and bend. But it works even better when you use the right stuff. So, pick yourself up a set of dollies and hammers, and there's various different ones for doing different things. And I mean, these things are priceless. Give it a little whack tap, and you can bend and shape whatever you need to. It's pretty neat. So when you get the hang of banging and smacking around, you can turn that piece into something that's looking similar to this. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It's going to get worked from here. However, if I take and line this bottom edge right where I want it, right now, let's see, like that, and then I fold that up, ta-da, that sucker looks like it belongs right in there now. And I can push and hammer all in here to make these joints perfect. I mean, that's pretty small. I can push, I can push that right in. But to get all these to line up as good as it does, all the way back through, we'll clean a little bit of this weld, these edges off there, deburr it, and then down through there. Next, that's that piece. Let me clean this quick. Now that I have that in, I take and I trace right along this line, all the way around the whole perimeter. When you take it off, there's my trace line, running right around. Now, this is how you know if somebody did a good patch panel or just, you know, stuck this on and welded, because that's, I mean, come on, look at that. All right, there we go. We just do it and weld it. No. Because what's going to happen is all this rusted, rotten metal behind it is going to continue to rust and rot. And that's why my line is up above this, so I can cut away any of this cavity, if you will, here. We're just going to cut that. And we're going to cut to this side of the line. It's very important, because we can always cut it bigger, but we don't want to have to fill any more gaps than we won't have to. So let's cut that out next, and the panel should fit in pretty well. For doing the cutting, I prefer to use these like 1/16 of an inch thick cutting discs, like 4.5 inches. If you can keep the guard on it, it's that much better. I have a hard time doing that to be able to get into where you want. You really have to be careful. These things can blow apart, so you want to make sure your body is always clear of any way that could possibly explode. And other than that, make sure you wear eye protection and hearing protection. You don't want to get any of this stuff in your eyes. Now that this is cut, we can get our first little glimpse of what we're really looking at. Nasty. Yeah, you're not going to weld to any of this stuff. I mean, that's the problem. The metal just, there's nothing to it. And this is cut through. I just gotta peel that. There's the inner rockers. That's why you gotta be careful with rust. Garbage. And I mean, that was a pretty decent piece of metal. That's why rust is so bad. And this is thick stuff. I could probably break it right in half. And that's, like I said, pretty thick. And how much? Yeah, it just explodes in blisters. And that's the problem with the brine, the liquid road salt. It gets in there, and it gets inside the metal, and just explodes it. And there's... see if I can just get a good steady picture here. It never stops. It goes from the inside out, that it just blows everything apart. It makes everything garbage. So I'm going to have to weld a little piece on the back of this too. But at least for now, get this piece out of the way. I might have to go a little more here. Just want to see how this piece is going to fit. I'll push that up. Just for now. This one will go. That's the cool part. I love when I do this. Let's see how well she fits for the first try. Oh man. That is really good. It doesn't need a whole lot of tweaking. I got to take a tiny bit off that point. But look, I mean, that's what you want to weld back together. You have hardly anything. I mean, this is so tight right here. You couldn't put a piece of paper through that. And even as you come across, I have one little point here at the tip to just clean up. Everything else is right where I want it. Eek. And when I'm done, it'll look just like this. Well, it won't be rusty, but it'll be stitched in and solid everywhere. And no more of this nonsense. And then we can paint it and fix it. But I'm going to clean all this out of here, cut all this old rusty stuff away like that. That's not doing any good. It's just more stuff in there to rust. And there's, without really cutting in there to get to more of that, I'm not going to worry about that this time around. We'll get that stuff later. But we will paint all up through here with some kind of rust inhibitor to just stop the rust. And then before we seal all this back up. Because if we just go ahead and close all this up, it's just going to get wet and rot from the inside out. And you can see the moisture that's just held in here. Horrible. You know you got the hang of it when friction alone will hold the new panel in. And that's pretty much it right there. All we have to do is start tack welding that, clean it up, and then cut the bottom line when we're finally done exactly where we want it. Pretty cool though. And there's what's left of it, or what was that?